everybody. We're back. Another episode of Bardown Beauties, presented by SodaStick.com. Please don't stop watching, for those watching, because we are dressed a little ridiculous, because this is life in the queue, baby. This is what's
Can we explain this? Because Jesse just tried to throw me under the bus for this before we started recording. And I just want to say that this was not my doing. I put a tweet out the day before we recorded, and I said it was a poll, and I was like, should I do my makeup for the video recording of our next episode tomorrow? Because I haven't done my makeup in like a month, and I've been doing these recordings looking, terrible. And I was like, maybe I should mix it up and try to look nice. And Jessie responds, and she's like, I'll wear a unicorn head. And I was like, cool, I'll wear a bag over my head with eyes and mouth cut out. And now here we are.
Any excuse I have to wear this unicorn head, which I have now had for a couple years, a party staple. It's like my favorite thing in the world. I will take advantage of it. I was also drinking some vodka sodas last night that maybe I was like, that'll be a great idea. Let's do it. And
see, but your idea makes sense. Like, I was completely sober and I wanted to do this.
I mean, yeah, sober. We're sober doing this right now. I have no regrets. Minus, it's very hot.
I'm sweating.
This is literally everything out of my daughter's dress up bag. just put it all on my face.
Yeah, no, yep. This is
nice because mine is hands free. Look, I don't even need to.
I'll just come on back. You guys look good. Keep rolling with whatever's going on. But this is we're here, another episode. Thanks for coming back and tuning in.
Thank you if you didn't exit out after you watched the first minute of it.
Thankfully, the people that are listening on just the audio have no idea how mad we've truly gotten. Because we've probably gotten a little mad. I'm sure everybody has, but let's try to find some sanity here. We've got a really good episode coming up. Trying to reel it back. Everything went off the rails in this episode. Worth the listen, though, guys. Stay tuned. We've got some really, really great guests. We've got Erin Loughrey of the Minnesota Wild. She does the social media. Be nice on Twitter, you goddamn trolls. She's just a person. So she's on to tell you about kind of some of the stuff that she has to deal with in her every day, and how she's managing through this quarantine like the rest of us. And then we've got Rick Bronwell. Everyone's probably like, who? And let me tell you, he is the funniest guy. You might have known him as Tricky or Ravishing Rick. These are not just his stage names. He is the equipment manager, one of the equipment managers for the Wild, and he is hilarious, guys. So fun. Both of them great guests. Definitely stick around for that. And we've got another Dear Alexis as well.
Dear Diary with Alexis, Jesse.
Oh, shit, I know.
Dear Alexis, I'm writing to myself. Honestly, by the end of quarantine, I might have a journal like that.
I just couldn't breathe in there. I don't know what happened. No oxygen.
But yeah, I knew what you meant.
It should be another good episode. Again, thanks for tuning in. Episode 17, I think. So that's good. We're moving along.
Episode Marcus Foligno. Oh my God, I just realized this. Wow.
Touche.
Wow. We should have had Marcus. If we could only get Marcus, if you want to jump on, still waiting, man. Happy to have you.
Marcus, if you're listening, we missed you.
We did get to check in with a Minnesota Wild player today. As you guys know, these Zoom calls are all the rage. And as everybody on Twitter pointed out, every media person got to post their Zoom virtual. He had that look in everybody's screenshot too. Like, we all took him at different times, but he had the same. So he's consistent.
I've only seen like 3 different facial expressions from him ever in general. So
no, it was fun. That's Ryan Suter. For those that are like, who is that?
The people
Ryan
listening
Suter.
to the audio are like, huh?
Yeah. Sorry, there's a picture of Ryan Suter. We chatted with the Wild defenseman who is in Minnesota, hanging out with the kids. He said, actually, he had mentioned he's working with the kids on some school stuff, like every parent is, and that Brooks, his son, is doing an Oregon Trail like education thing, which I was like, that is sweet. Like, that they still have that going on. Do you know the people that made Oregon Trail are from Minnesota? Fun fact.
Wait, how did you pronounce it?
Oregon Trail. You say Oregon?
It's Oregon.
I say Oregon.
It's Oregon Trail.
Definitely
Oregon.
Oregano Trail.
I live in the Pacific
Shut
West.
your mouth.
Oregon.
Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. It's so anyway. Fred's out, and you ready? Are you ready to play nice, Fred? The great thing about Zoom recordings, guys, we can mute people, or I can. So I hold the power.
Yeah, Jesse has a lot of power, you guys, in these Zoom things.
But yeah, so no, that was great. It's kind of the same old same. We did talk about what to do if the NHL was to resume as at the proposed one facility. North Dakota came up, he'd play in that one facility in front of no fans. He had kind of just said, we just want to get back to playing. So he would be open to that. Obviously it would be weird. We just like the way that the season was trending, right? They were going up, Alexis. They were on their way.
They were. Such a classic thing to happen. It's like the Minnesota team is finally doing well, and then you're like, you know what? We're just going to cancel literally the whole season. So yeah, have fun with that. Yeah. You guys went through the struggle at the beginning. Congrats. Now you got to the part where you're actually doing well, but we're just going to stop it right here.
I know. So it'll be interesting. Everyone's just kind of hanging in there. Hopefully we'll have more Zoom calls to update you on maybe some more NHL news as this thing progresses. But until then, we're just here filling time, filling airspace, filling space, sanity. We won't keep you too long because we're gonna get to our guest because it's such a lengthy episode. So again, stick around for that. Before we take a break, we do want to give a shout out to Soda Stick, our presenting sponsor. Still doing amazing things with McGolden Light and their pond hockey line. If you guys haven't already, be sure to go in and purchase some of that pond hockey line, which will go to benefit employees that are affected by COVID-19 in the hospitality and service industry. And again, Bardown Beauties merch still available. And as always, slap down that Bardown Beauties code at checkout for free shipping. We'll be right back. And joining us now, our first guest of two amazing Minnesota Wild employee guests, Erin Loughrey. Erin, Bloomington Jefferson Jaguar, Gopher grad, and elite tweeter. Can we call you that? Is that kind of the way to phrase it, as the Wild social media coordinator type of
Hey,
thing?
I love that. I'll take that title for sure.
I like it. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
I think we're all hanging
surviving.
in there.
Yeah, quarantine life isn't great, but hey, we're tweeting and surviving and trying to be relevant on the internet, right?
Yeah. Talk about that. How hard is it to do content for a sports team when there's no sports or really anything happening right now?
Yeah, very candidly, the first part of it was just like, I have no idea what to say, so I'm going to say nothing. And then kind of as we kind of jumped into kind of our, okay, well, I guess we're paused for now. We had to kind of be like, okay, what are things that we should actually be talking about relating to news, tickets, kind of information sort of things. And then from there, now we're kind of in this weird spot where we're trying to just trying to put content out there that's keeping us relevant and still trying to be kind of cognizant of the situation that we're in.
And how different is this then from off-season content? Obviously, right? In the off-season, there's stuff going on, but there's no games and it's a little bit less, but it's a totally different situation at the same time, right?
Yeah, so this will actually be my first off-season with a hockey team. So from past knowledge with baseball, it's a lot of, National Sibling Day and National Hot Dog Day and hey, we signed this guy. And so right now we're kind of in that weird spot where we're sort of doing that, but also we know that there could be a opportunity for us to come back. And so how do we, continue to be putting out content that we know we're obligated to send to our fans, kind of with our corporate partners, our community relations, all of that, while still trying to kind of be like, hey, yeah, we could play hockey tomorrow technically, but we're just kind of sitting in that weird kind of, no one's ever really done this before. So it's been interesting to say the least.
Yeah. Because social media is your job, but you also, I'm sure, do a lot of personal things on social media too and have friends you connect with. How many hours a day are you spending on social media between work and your personal life?
Yeah.
Or do you try to avoid it because you just have had enough of it?
My screen time app has been off the charts lately. So I think that, I tried my best to kind of schedule as much as I can within the, 9 to 5, because I actually have normal hours now. So that's been nice to kind of lock in on social during those hours and then plan things when they go live in the evening and just kind of check in on them. But yeah, I definitely have my weekends back, which has been something that I've never had working in sports. But yeah, I miss it. I keep checking in on my personal social with, content creators and social media managers of what they're doing too. And just even trying to stay connected with like the Minneapolis market and just what other teams are kind of putting out themselves.
And you mentioned baseball, but even before baseball, it wasn't sports, right? Your first job was at
Yeah.
Best Buy. And what was that like to work in kind of such a corporate world? And how did that lead into a transition with sports and internship with the Twins here? And now you're continued on.
Yeah, I mean, corporate life is so much different than sports. We have all these different approvals that go through. You have kind of more of a strict schedule. Things go out on the weekends, but not nearly as, quick pace. And I would say that, Best Buy is another like very iconic Minnesota brand. So it was really fun to kind of see how transitioning from Best Buy to the Twins was so interesting to see those like kind of super fans in those different areas. But yeah, I think that my first love was definitely social media, and then kind of opening my eyes with the Twins being like, wow, I could do this for a team. This is awesome. I think this is the best case scenario.
Yeah.
Well, and you went from Twins to Tampa Bay Rays. So was it sports specifically that you wanted to stick with, or was it even smaller into that baseball world that you wanted to stick with before you moved on to hockey?
Yeah, I think ideally if I could have stayed with the Twins, being an intern, I would have loved that. But I think that just being in that area and being in MLB opened my eyes to just sports in general. And I was really open to kind of anything. That just happened to be the first job that I applied for and got. And so I think that now kind of, obviously I'm really lucky to work for a hometown team. And I think that unless I'm looking for an opportunity that's like picture perfect, I probably wouldn't leave this kind of market for a little bit.
Were you a big sports fan? I mean, growing up in Minnesota, were you a huge hockey fan, Twins fan? What was kind of, and it's okay to say no,
I know. I always hate this question because people are like, oh, do you love hockey? And I'm like, no. But no, I mean, I grew up playing, sports. I played basketball through high school, volleyball, softball, and then I obviously watched hockey. How can you not watch hockey in the state?
Mm-hmm.
And so I would go to the Jefferson Jaguar high school games. And,
shout out to Mark Parrish. He would love you for that, right?
Yeah. And I had a really close family friend who played for Duluth East, and he went to the tournament. So it was really cool to kind of see that. But I mean, how can you not love hockey living in Minnesota? I just personally can't skate, and I probably should learn, but
welcome to our club, really. I mean, Alexis is better than I, but
yeah, I feel like that'll be something to attempt one of these days, actually getting on the ice, but I don't think it's gonna be pretty.
So as far as the job aspect of it goes, what was the biggest transition for you moving from that baseball lifestyle to hockey? And you're going from Tampa Bay to Minnesota. So there is a weather change, there is a sport change, there's a lifestyle change. What was kind of that hardest or biggest transition for you?
Well, I think personally the hardest transition was the fact that I moved back to Minnesota and then had to cover a hockey game 4 days later. I barely had a computer. I barely had the logins. So I was just like, I don't know where my gifts are. I don't know how to request a video. I don't know where my bugs are for my logos. I don't know what corporate partners are what. So I think the biggest part was just kind of honestly just absorbing everything and just kind of, I had an awesome team behind me. They set me up to succeed. But that first game I covered, I was like, oh my God, what have I got myself into? This is so different.
And then to, bringing up to the point in the season where we did end, where was your comfort level at, and what were you kind of feeling? I mean, you seem to be in the groove. I know Alexis and I see you at every game doing your thing.
Running around with a laptop and a phone.
Yeah, I'm doing my best. I think that I finally, at that point, I was like, okay, I feel really comfortable. I can do a lot of things by myself. I know what to expect. I know the groove. And I felt really comfortable with game day and kind of just our season in general. And yeah, I run around with my laptop. It's definitely not safe, but I got things to tweet, so it is what it is. But I think at that point if we had gone on and, continue the rest of the season, I felt like I would have been in a good spot. And then just off season would have been kind of learning and transitioning, which is going to happen eventually. But I feel like kind of every day is always, learning something new, but I felt pretty comfortable in my normal basic requirements now with the team.
Well, and I feel like sports and sports media is so fun. We talk about this a million times on our podcast, how lucky we are to get to do this stuff. But there are downsides to this. And one of them for you is probably mean tweets, because people take their anger out on team accounts, not realizing that the person running that account has nothing to do with the way the game unfolded or how trades happen or anything. Have you come across any really, I know Minnesota fans are pretty nice. They can get fired up, but there's meaner fans out there. But have you come across any really mean tweets or anything that you kind of had to like take a step back and say, "Oh, that was a little."
It's not me. I am not that person.
Yeah. I mean, I think this comes with running any sort of public facing account. We definitely have our trolls. I think that, the one that we always get is, Minnesota, they're irrelevant. Like, they're not going to win anything, never getting a cup. Like, we get that all the time. I think I'm honestly sometimes more intimidated by how knowledgeable our fans are. Like, there are times where I post something and it's like kind of not totally right. And then they come after me and I'm like, oh, okay, yep. We're going to take a step back on that one. It's just not going to comment, let that ride out. Just because it's like, everybody here is so passionate about hockey and they know a ton about the team. So I think that's kind of those two areas where I'm kind of sitting in the middle of like, okay, I know enough about hockey to be dangerous, but if you kind of throw these technical things at me, I'm going to be like, okay, we're going to sit back here.
But not a challenge to you, Wild fans. You hear me? You be nice.
Yeah,
Erin's a
leave her
nice
alone.
person. Leave her alone. Yeah.
I love you guys. Thank you. Like my tweets.
I have had one friend one time like come out to me. He's like, "Do you know the Wild social person?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Tell her I'm sorry. I think sometimes I'm really mean." And because he's so like, he's a passionate fan, right? Like he's mad at the team. And I was like, yeah, just don't do that. Like, just take a step back.
I have one of my favorite tweets that I ever put out was I was covering soccer and I got hit by Matt Zuccarello and he kind of turned around and like did a thing and I was like, the caption was like, "Oh, sad face, Twitter interns out." And like for some reason everybody loved that. So I think it's kind of fun to also like make fun of myself a little bit just because it makes it, the account's a little more human that way.
And on to more happy, I need to talk about the Minnesota Wild pup.
We need to know.
Yes. Is that you? Are you in charge? Do you get to do that?
I am at MN Wild Pup. I heart Breezer. Breezer and I are best friends. I missed him so much.
Yeah, we miss him too. He is such a cute little pup, and that's some of my favorite content, even though it's completely technically unrelated to hockey. I'm like, yes, give me more of the dog because the dog never fails. Sometimes the team will let you down or something will happen. You're like, oh, that sucks. But Breezer never makes you feel that way.
No, that's so true. I think in the beginning of the year, we were like, oh, we aren't playing so well, so let's maybe kind of keep the dog away from the team. But I think as soon as we brought Breezer around, they started doing well. So we were like, shit, we should have started this. Oh, shoot, I swore. Whoops.
You can do it.
Oh, even better. Yeah, I think he's an awesome like part of the brand for us just because he is so pure. And all of the guys love him, and he's just some of our best content. He has his own sponsors, but he's a great way for us to kind of put some more, lighthearted stuff of the guys out there. Who doesn't love hockey players and pups, right?
Yeah, it's one of the best combinations out there. That's for sure.
Exactly.
I know. He was staying with Matt Maka, or who is he? Right? Who's his house at? Where's he at?
His foster father is Matt Maka, the president of the Wild, and he is going to be graduating and moving on to do his work with Soldier 6. I think right at the beginning of the summer. So, nice. We're going to miss him, but he's been a good pup.
Well, Breezer is one of the good parts about this job, but there's got to be other ones too. What has been and granted, you've only been with the Minnesota Wild for a short amount of time here, and it's been a weird season to say the least, but what has been your favorite part about working for the Wild? Not even necessarily related to your exact job, but your favorite person, maybe Franny. We all love Franny, right?
Yeah,
Can't go wrong
great.
with Franny.
Well, I think this is a little bit selfish, but working in hockey now, I'm really excited to get my summers back. Baseball is a gigantic grind in the summer. And so I'm excited to kind of have, obviously we do things in the summer, but I'm excited selfishly to get my summers back. And then kind of just more in general, I really appreciate my team around me. They've just been really helpful kind of getting me on board and everything. And it's just
that includes Dan Myers. You're going to say,
yeah, he might be mad at me for
Dan.
hopping on this podcast.
Tell him you beat him. You let him know that you were first, and then we'll let Tricky know that he was next.
Oh my gosh, yeah, no, Dan's great. Dan really has been kind of like, like big brother, like, oh yeah, you got to do this. If there are things that I don't necessarily want to tweet from the Wild, but I can retweet Dan, I'm always like, hey, can you tweet that the other team scored so I can retweet you, please? He's like, fine.
Are you good at all with floor hockey? Have you played that at all? Because I know that's a
Oh,
big
man.
thing for the staff during the summer. And
Fred used to work for the
Myers,
Wild, remember?
yeah, Dan Myers will absolutely grind into you that one year he was a goalie for a championship summer floor hockey league.
I bet this shocks you, but I've definitely heard that story about a million times already.
Yeah. Have you? And then you play soft toss around the office. Have you gotten hit in the head from one of those pucks from Dan?
You know, he's been doing this thing where he just hasn't really been come into the office. He does his work from home, which is cool. But yeah, we kind of, obviously are running around everywhere. And then this season, I feel like we had a ton of travel, and then we were home forever, and then a ton of travel again. So kind of actually catching anybody at their desk right now has been kind of
Well, especially right now.
And then obviously nobody's at their desk right now.
Dan's by himself. He's like, actually, I'm going to go in now.
Yeah, right. How about funniest story? I think the one getting hit with a soccer ball, pretty hilarious. Any other really good stories that you'll take with you as your first year memory?
Yeah. This is gonna I should not even be sharing this story. This is incredibly embarrassing, but
we love these.
That's content. That's best.
Yeah.
During one of our first trips, we went to Canada. I had never been to Canada, and so Jerry Mayhew got called up, and he scored his first goal, right, against, that was the Maple Leafs, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Against the Maple Leafs. And we lost, obviously. So went down to the locker room, kind of started doing my post-game stuff. I'm still fairly new at this point, so I'm a little bit stressed because another loss, doing all these things that I have to post, and I don't really know my role so much at this point.
And people are angry at you.
Yeah, I've got the trolls. We've lost 6 in a row, whatever it was, whatever. So this guy, he's wearing a suit, and to be honest, he kind of reminded me like a Bob Kurtz, Tom Reed sort of. So I was like, oh, he's probably, some guy with TV. He's like, can you go get Jerry Mayhew for me? I need to talk to him. And I turned him and I'm like, sir, I can't get anyone for you. I'm sorry. Like, let me go try and get our PR person. Like, there's no way. So come to find out, that was Mike Babcock. Yeah, so that was really embarrassing. And the next day I got a story from Dan that was like, this like small connection between Jerry and Mike Babcock's son, and they took a selfie after the game, and I was like,
I'm really sorry, Mr. Babcock.
That is so funny.
My God, I am so embarrassed. I cannot believe that. And then, obviously he's not with the Leafs anymore, but I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe that I just am that oblivious. That
just blew off Mike Babcock. Like, no, excuse me, sir. Step in line.
I was like, I'm such a hockey newbie. This is so bad.
That is hilarious. Oh my God.
So yeah, hockey memories. Gotta love it.
To be fair, a lot of players and coaches and everyone look different in the hallways behind the benches. So I mean, in your defense, like there has been people who walk by, I'm like, they look really familiar, and I feel like I should know who that is, and I don't know if I do.
The worst.
The most embarrassing was the fact that, he just coached the game. He was wearing the same suit that he was wearing the entire game. So I was like, oh my God.
I mean, and it's Mike Babcock, I guess. Like pretty.
I was like, okay, I'm just going to, get on the bus and leave now. Wow, I'm so embarrassed.
Oh, that's too funny. It's really hard to at, what am I thinking of in the summer? Development camp. Development camp is the worst for like not knowing who and I think you get a little bit more leeway there because they're all kind of relatively unknown. But I remember there was like a couple times, like every year, there's always a couple times where people are like, is that so-and-so? And we're all like, we don't know. Who was that? Or like, who just talked? Like nobody has any idea. And you feel kind of like a jerk. You're not trying to be rude. It's just like, I don't know all 50 of you people or whatever it might be. So prepare yourself when this comes back around.
That's for sure going to be me. Yikes. Here we go.
We'll help each other out. Like,
appreciate that.
We'll figure it out.
We'll give you like a little earpiece and we can like, whisper to you like who's who. Yeah.
It's the worst. Like there are so many times when I've been like, hi, Tyler. And they're like, I'm not Tyler. And I was like, oh, I thought you were. Like you look a lot like, okay, bye. Like,
yeah, I'm going to be like, so you're Hunter.Jones28?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it's like that for everybody though. So at least it's an even playing field. We can all feel stupid together. That's what we do in hockey. We stick together, folks.
We got people in the back. I love it. Perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Well, before we let you go, Erin, any parting words, any things that you want to remind fans about? Like, yes, you are one person running all of the accounts. Anything that you want to let fans know, or any, you know, fun content that we've got coming up, or
Any specific trolls you'd like to call out? I mean,
yeah,
now's
any
the time.
blocks? How many blocks are we at now for that account?
Oh my gosh, I feel like that's something I don't think I can do, but so nobody's getting blocked. Thank you for following along.
You guys
I
all
really,
survive. You're
right?
lucky.
Yeah,
That's Minnesota nice right there. She's
Yeah,
like, thank
like-
you for being mean. I'm not gonna block you.
but yeah, no, I think our fans are really awesome. I think that people, you know, when people tweet at us and, you know, comment, I try my best to kind of look at all that and actually take it to heart. And it's definitely given us some ideas of things to do for content. So when in doubt, tweet away. We're definitely looking at it. Might not always get a response, but I really appreciate that, the fact that we have such loyal followers and really some awesome fans.
Awesome. Well, again, that's Erin Loughrey, Minnesota Wild social media guru, brilliance, elite tweeter, whatever, you know,
Love it.
all of those.
Appreciate
Add
it.
those all to your business card, please. And official
Twitter
beauty.
bio.
Yeah. We'll be sure to have you back on. But thanks again. We look forward to seeing you this next coming season, I guess. That
Yeah,
feels weird,
until
right?
next time, right? Chat soon is always what I
There
say.
we go.
Chat
There we go.
soon. Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Thanks,
Thank
Erin.
you. And now our second guest of this amazing episode. We got two really awesome Minnesota Wild guests. Rick Bronwell, although like I said, I had to look up your actual name because I know you as Tricky. I think the whole world knows you as Tricky. The best equipment guy around in the league, in the world probably. You know? You are.
So
You're a
sweet.
favorite. You're just always, you're so
sweet.
great. Welcome, Tricky.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here right now. Oh, Richard.
I would just
The
like to
honor
say
is
I didn't know
ours.
Tricky had a different name. Like I was just like, Tricky's his first and last name. That's kind of what the conclusion I had
Yeah.
come to.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
Run
Jesse's like,
DMC
we're going
wrote
to
a
interview
song.
Rick Bronwell. And I was like, I don't know
She's
who that is,
who?
but I'm here for it. And then I was like, oh, wait, I do know who that is.
Yeah,
That's
oh,
Tricky.
Wait a minute. Who is
Yeah.
that?
I told her
Yeah.
Rick Bronwell was in the Hall of Fame, and I really elevated your stats.
Well, thanks. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. It's not bad. Hall of Fame jock hanger. Sick. Good job.
Dream big, kids. Dream big.
Yeah, dude, you can do anything you want with your life. I chose to hang jocks. All right.
But I do want to start there because that is kind of an interesting, like you were pretty young when you figured out that maybe this would be something you did wanted to do. Take us through that
Yeah.
childhood. We'll add some like nice ambiance behind this maybe and
Yeah,
tell
can
us
we
about.
play some Chopin or something
Yeah.
like that? Would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was 13 and I started off in Kansas City, and my dad worked for the food service company at Kemper Arena, and we had the Kansas City Blades, which was the old affiliate for the Sharks in the International Hockey League. If anybody remembers the Moose, that was that same league that
Oh, the Moose.
Minnesota Moose were in. And my dad knew the equipment guy, and I was just going into freshman year of high school, and my dad told me, came home one day and he goes, "Hey, you're gonna work hockey." I'm like, "What? No, what's hockey?" I didn't know what it was. I was football. Like I was training. I'm playing for Michigan State. I'm gonna play in the NFL. And also my dad said, "Yeah, you're gonna go fill water bottles for this hockey team that plays it down where I work." And I'm like, "Okay." So I went out and I just had a Sega Genesis. So this is no word of a lie. I learned hockey from NHL 91, that the first EA Sports hockey game. I went to Montgomery Ward's and we went and bought the game, and I learned offsides and icing and everything from a video game.
That is
How
amazing.
old
I had
are you,
no-
Alexis? How
I
old
had
are you,
no
Alexis?
idea.
1991, I was not even a fetus yet. I was negative 4 years old.
You're -4. You weren't even in the pituitary gland yet.
No.
Yeah,
Just a sparkle in Dad's eye, in Jim's eye, right?
I don't even know if it was a sparkle.
No.
My brothers and sisters were wasted before that. But anyway, that's just, like that's how I learned the sport, and I did that for 4 years in high school. And then once I got out of high school, they needed a truck guy to go pick up visiting team's equipment and take care of the visiting team. And so Mike Aldrich, who is the head equipment manager in San Jose right now, he was a head guy in KC, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to do it? We're going to pay you like $350, $400 a week." And I'm like, "Oh, done. Like I don't have to go
Gold
to college.
mine.
I'm just going to go right into work." And I've been doing it ever since '95, full time. Just love the naked men. That's what it is.
Hey, welcome to the club.
You and me both.
Keeping it
Yeah.
very- What are you guys talking about? Wait, I'm on the wrong show.
I don't even. Yeah. Whoops.
Hold on,
My
let
bad.
me take my shirt off.
What team were you when you were playing like the game when you were learning? Like what team, or was it?
Okay, so I got into the Vancouver Canucks for some reason because I
Okay.
loved that spaghetti plate jersey that they had.
Yeah.
And Cliff Ronning, who at that time, that game, they didn't have like their names. It was just their number because it wasn't NHLPA licensed yet. So he was fantastic. Roenick was really good too. So it was either Chicago or Vancouver I was playing as.
Are you a KCK or KC Mo guy?
Casey Mo. I'm
KC Mo.
Missouri.
Okay,
Although,
good.
yeah, Missouri.
We're
Yeah.
both.
I don't
Missouri.
say Missouri, but yeah, we're both Missouri. We're both Missouris.
What's the best barbecue?
Missourians. Best barbecue in Kansas City from the old school ones. I like Arthur Bryant's better than Gates, but Joe's Kansas City is absolutely amazing. Like the burnt ends there are ridiculous.
Yeah,
So-
we're gonna mute Fred so we can talk more about those naked men that you hang out with all the time.
All right, I want to move on to
yes.
barbecue.
Yes. If you guys ask me who is, never mind. I'm not gonna go there.
Oh, I know. I have an idea.
Yeah, you know where I'm going.
See, this is gonna be my favorite episode. I
my
think.
Yes.
goodness.
It's gonna be
Um,
fantastic.
It's gonna be so good.
Mhm.
You know, to a serious note, I guess, and I mean, we were scheduled to do this interview the day the
Oh
season
yeah, I
got
forgot about
canceled.
that.
Yeah, I didn't
Good
forget.
times.
I was it was circled on my calendar. Remember, we were gonna do it the day that the Wild
Sure
were
it
supposed to
was,
play
Jesse.
Vegas. It
Mhm.
was.
Mhm.
I should be in sales, right? I should.
Yeah, you should
Everyone's
be.
the best.
Absolutely. Am I supposed to have a microphone or something like that? You guys didn't
Yeah.
send me a microphone.
We do.
guys can
It's
hear
on
me,
its way.
okay.
It's on its way.
the way.
Amazon 2-day
Okay.
delivery didn't come through this time,
Yeah,
but
budgetary
week.
concerns. Yeah, gotcha.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But no, what was that like? I mean, were you already kind of preparing a different way to disinfect things, kind of like how you do when the mumps and the staph comes out, or what was, your preparation for coronavirus, had the season not been canceled?
Well, the thing we do, and I'm going to give you a lowdown on what we do. We have machines at both TRIA, the practice rink, and Excel. They're called Sandy Sports. They use ozone to kill bacteria. We kind of use them anytime somebody gets sick. Their gear goes in that machine. But we do usually 3 to 5 guys every game day because we're only at Excel on game day. So we would take the game gear, which is way more rank than practice gear. Practice gear is relatively new still.
Mm-hmm.
So we would take their gear and we'd run 5 guys through before the morning skate every day because it seems to work better when it's dry than when it's wet. So we would do that anyway, and we weren't really doing anything more because we have a cleaning crew that comes in and sprays down. And I think twice, maybe 3 times a year, we have a company come in and disinfect all the stalls and wipe down all the seats. And we like to spray. You probably see me in there spraying the gear sometimes with that what's it called, Sports Sense.
Yeah.
I'm giving shameless plugs here, but
I was gonna say shout out to Vicky, right?
Sponsor
yeah,
us.
Vicky, Miss Vicky Lanka. So we were already kind of doing that, and I don't think the concern was it being in our room. The concern, well, it was concern about being in a room, but definitely on everybody's mind was that we were just in California. And then a couple days later, you're thinking like, holy crap, Ottawa came down with it, and we passed Ottawa's gear 3 times on that trip. Like I remember leaving Sunday night from Anaheim, and we walked right past carts full of Ottawa's gear who was waiting for our room to become vacant so they could move right in after us.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming that it had to have come from, I don't know. My guess is LA because Brooklyn was there too. And we don't share the same locker rooms there, but we're kind of in the same hallway. So I don't know. And it's kind of weird that nobody on our team tested positive for it, but Ottawa had 4? Is it 4? Whatever the number.
Publicly,
Yeah.
they've said 4, I think now. Yeah.
So I talked to their equipment guy with Ottawa probably 4 or 5 days ago, and he said that he only said 4 as well, but he hasn't been in touch with anybody with the team. So it's like, because they're doing the same thing we're doing. We're all just staying at home and kind of chilling at home. So as far as preparations for that to happen, we already had that kind of under control because that was stuff we put in place after the mumps outbreak of it's COVID-19. What was mumps? Mumps 15? Mumps,
I think
mumps
that's
16 or something.
God, that
Whenever
was insane.
Yeah.
And that came from another assumption on my part, but I think it came from Anaheim. something to do with the washing machines or something like that. I think,
California,
'cause
you
St.
suck.
St. Louis got it pretty bad too, and they were there right after us. Maybe it came from
Yeah.
us. Probably came from me.
It
Probably
That's how I
same.
got my nickname.
Yeah.
The Mumps Tricky.
Mum's tricky. I've heard that.
Yeah.
I was wondering about that.
What do you got? I got the vid.
You
Figured
got-
it out. Damn it.
Well, this
No, it's
was
not.
everything that happened with this. I'm sure for someone who deals with sanitation and cleaning all that stuff, that was a really hard challenge to overcome. And had we have continued the season, it probably wouldn't have been easy to manage all of that. But on a normal season and a normal day-to-day basis, I'm sure there's other difficult parts of your job. What would you say on an average, like game day, or maybe something that happens mid-game that's hard to deal with? What is the hardest part of your job on a normal season and day?
Well, that's a great question. The thing that I tell people that ask this is my favorite part of any day is a game day intermission, or during the game and the intermission, and you have, this goes back to me working in Houston when I was traveling by myself, because right now we have three guys. We have Tony DeCosta's our head equipment manager, myself, and then Benzie's the other assistant. So we have guys to split up. But I always loved it when you'd have like three pairs of skates to sharpen, and they're all different hollows, so you have to change the hollow on the sharpener, and you have a goalie chest protector, the arm fell off of it, so you got to fix that, and then you have a shin pad whose kneecap broke and you're fixing that, and you have 15 minutes to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I wouldn't say stressful, but because I think most of us people that consider themselves jock hangers
I love that term. Is that on your business card? Like, I think that's what it should go by instead.
I would love to. Yeah, assistant jock hanger. What?
Sounds great.
But yeah, that's what I thrive on. I love that part of it. And you say it's like stressful and hard. Yeah, it's hard, but it's also good to know when a guy gives you something and says it's broken, and you're like, okay, what do you want me to do? Fix it. Okay. And so just to kind of have off the top of your head, I wish I could do that with cars. So I'm working on this 81 Mercedes right now, trying to do the alternator on it, and I keep breaking bolts. That's really pissing me off.
Dang, look at you.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just,
yeah.
That's when I'm in my element. When I'm at home trying to take care of the kids and deal with fights with them, it's not good. I suck at this.
Well,
Get me back to work.
That's kind of what I'm like too. I'm like, no, I chose to like work, so I didn't have to be around you guys 24/7.
That's why I have a job and a wife.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's your.
Exactly.
You know what you're doing. I don't.
Not,
I don't ask you to come in and hang jocks. She couldn't hang them. There's no way, Jesse, you could hang those jocks like I can hang.
I don't know.
Sorry, is this the recurring joke? Is this the Mel Brooks moment?
Oh my God, I should show you though. The one there's a picture of me. This is like still fan Jesse, right? Like from college, and we got to tour the United Center. We got to go in the Blackhawks locker room, but it's me, and then there's Patrick Kane's jock strap just hanging there, and I was
iconic.
Like, yep, this is my life, guys. This is what I want to do.
Iconic. That's what I think. That's what I think of when I think of iconic pictures. You know what I mean?
Oh,
I have
Monet,
it.
I'll put it in the Louvre.
Michelangelo and Jesse next to Patrick Kane's nut hugger. Sick.
It was profile picture of the year. Let me tell you.
I would pay to see that.
Don't you worry. You talked about like modifying equipment though, which is something that you have been particularly good at. Talk about the process, and it's obviously modified per player, right? Do they just kind of approach you with these different ideas, or do you, how does that all come to fruition?
Well, yeah, most of the guys that do what they want, most of them know what they're doing. The big thing are like goalie equipment. You'll have guys in San Jose, when I worked in San Jose, Nabokov he'd want his pads cut down. So you'd cut them down at an angle, the tops, and then resew the binding back on. And just little stuff like that. But it is per player. It's kind of whatever they want. A lot of times with goalie stuff, if you do anything, you have to fill out form. It's like buying a car. You're filling out like 3 or 4 forms, have the GM sign them, and then you have the player sign them, and then you send them into the league, and then they have to get approved and make sure it doesn't screw with the sizing of it. And then Kay Whitmore at the league will be like, yeah, that's fine. I don't think that gives any advantage to the player. You can do that type of thing. Like both Al and Doobie's chest protectors are a combo chest protector. It's a CCM body with Vaughn arms attached to them, because the CCM arms are a little stiff, and just little stuff like that. But you're also flying by the seat of your pants, because there's no manual that you're looking at going, okay, so how do I replace this, or how do I sew this on, or I got to add Velcro here, or I add a strap here, an adjustment buckle. anything like that. And that's the part that I was like, that's kind of what I talk about when I say that I thrive in that, and that I like that, is that I like the challenge of coming up with ways to make things work, you know, and also
Yeah.
like, how does that thing work? And I'll take that apart just to sort of see how it works. Now, electrical stuff is different because electrical stuff sucks, but
Yeah.
that, you know what I mean? Like, why is this gear drives that gear, which drives that gear, which makes this run? So that's cool. How does that work? Let me take this apart and do that. So it's the same idea with gear, even though it's a lot more simplified with
Right.
equipment. But because a shin pad is a shin pad, and every equipment guy is the same, we just work with different colors, right?
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
like, we have green pants and Buffalo has blue pants, but they're both pants and they both do the exact same thing. So if you know how to fix it, you know how to fix it. If you don't, you don't. Or
You
you
know-
have to, knowing how to use a sewing machine is huge. Like, a lot of people think skate sharpening is a really huge deal of what we do, but it's honestly not, because you have to, the biggest part is, I mean, we are kind of like we're the guys kind of psychiatrists a little bit, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you'll sit and talk and they'll have problems and they'll just want to hang out after a game and talk and complain about this or that or whatever. And that's kind of, it's what you do. You're kind of a do-it-all kind of guy that's just there for whatever. And also the attitude you bring in the room is huge too. You have to have some sort of, the presence you have. You know
I mean,
what
I wish
Like,
you had a better attitude when we were in the room sometimes. Like,
I'm
it's just
such
not
a jerk.
fun.
What
I can't
about
wait to see you again, because I'm going to punch you right in the over.
You would never.
Right in the old baby maker. No, yeah.
Tricky, what
Do
about
it.
when you're on the bench? What is kind of your thought process? Because the game moves so quickly, and when a player loses a stick or needs a escape blade fixed, or when the escape blade falls off, what is kind of your thought process as far as watching the game and evaluating, like, when a move needs to be made and when a player needs something? Are you kind of just going with the flow of it, or are you always in the mindset of, like, getting ready to grab something if they need it?
Well, when you're doing sticks on the bench, you're probably the most engaged in the game out of anybody else on the bench, other than the coaches. The trainers are just looking for somebody to get hurt. You know what I mean? And I'm not downplaying anybody by any means, but if somebody breaks a stick, you have to know where it's at on the rack. And I sort of memorize their tape jobs, and I know where they're going to be at, because it's always numerical, left to right, high or low to high. So if Greenway breaks his, he's the tallest on the rack. He's pretty easy. If Hunt breaks his, he's at the end. You know what I mean? So, but most of the time, my first thought process is, don't pick your nose. Like, honestly, because I can't
You're
tell
on
you
TV every
any
time.
Sick. There you are. Yes.
Yeah, you
yes,
like that?
That's awesome. Check you out. Oh my God, look at
Wow.
your hair.
What
They
a
hang their
baby.
stalls so gross.
I-
Oh, it's good.
Just
move aside, Mona
you could do
Lisa.
better than that, right? Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at those
Oh,
hang
100%.
jobs.
Look at that.
Just-
Such a brutal. Look, it's on the right too. Like, there's no symmetry to that stall. You know what I mean? Like, the pants should be anyway.
Is it now? Are you getting like, oh no, we need to fix that. That needs to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it.
That's not Kane though. Who's that? Johnson?
I thought
Who
it was
is that?
Kane. Maybe it's not Kane.
It's Kim Johansson.
Oh, it's probably Kim Johansson. There's a long
Oh
story.
my God.
Long story about that one. No.
What? Okay, tell us.
I mean, I guess I think it
Just-
was like my mom hated him so much, and so I love to torment my mother when it comes to hockey. Like,
That's
it's just
me and my dad to a
favorite
T.
thing, right? Like, yeah, because she's the
Mhm.
reason I love hockey is because she's this big hockey person. I don't know, Tricky, did you know she dated Bob Mason?
No.
Oh yeah, they dated hard. Yeah, she's
Shut
from International
up.
Falls.
Yeah, welcome to the Gossip
No
Club,
way.
Tricky.
Yeah, and she's like in
I'm
love with
so
Miko
in now.
Koivu. I know, it's fun. So
Nico who?
yeah,
I'm
she.
kidding.
What did Sicky say? Positive and happy. Not very.
I am.
Yeah,
I
Tricky,
am.
come on.
I had something in my throat. It's COVID season.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, I think that's probably what that was, if I remember. Again, it's like a decade plus that picture was taken. Just
She
old.
dated Bob Mason though. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, I
That is
got pictures.
awesome.
Once I get Mace on here, I have pictures. I'm gonna get him and his brother on.
Let me call him right now. Mace, let's go. And he'll be like, I don't know
See,
how to work
this
the
could
phone.
be the start of our Katie Nolan thing, where we just bring on the most famous people that we could possibly find.
Yeah,
Tricky would
and
probably
then
win.
And then Tricky.
But you would win. You would have the most
Yeah,
connection,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
everybody's like, I'm not
yeah,
doing that.
I'll tell you, it's awesome.
I know.
But I don't even know what we were talking. What were we talking about before we got to talk about you and
Your
Karen
reaction,
Johnson's cut?
you
your
being on
thought
TV and
process
not
on the
picking-
bench.
Yeah, yeah.
Not picking
Oh
picking your
yeah,
nose.
don't pick your nose. Don't pick your nose. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Don't pick your nose. Don't pick your nose. Don't blow your nose. Don't cough. Don't fall down. I guess is another good one.
What's your thought on players scoring with another guy's stick then? and how that can kind of throw rotations off. And
I don't really. I think it's hilarious. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's happened once in my time of doing, not necessarily just this job, doing sticks on the bench, where a guy grabbed, and I did get a penalty once too. I've gotten one penalty in my career, and that was I threw the stick on accident. So I grabbed it and I went to do it, and it went right through my hand and on the ice, and then we got a 2-minute.
Rookie mistake.
We had to kill it off, and I was like, son of a. They didn't score.
Did you have to go sit in the box? Like, you know,
I did.
get on out there?
No, they're like, no.
The
This
walk
guy's a
of
little
shame
top
from the
heavy.
bench to the
This guy-
penalty box.
This guy's top heavy. We don't want him falling down and hurting himself. So yeah. Anyway, but yeah, that's I don't really have a thought process on that. but
Don't some
I know
people?
that
Don't some
didn't-
player like people
didn't-
hate it? Like
Yeah,
as far
I mean,
as trainers or equipment guys go?
I would think so, that they would. I don't. You're talking about guys that come by and you want to get them to stick as quick as you can. Like you want to be that guy that gets it, and then they go down and score, and you kind of get an honorary assist on the play,
Yeah.
or on the goal.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't really.
What about,
Yeah,
I
I
need
don't
to
really-
know when a guy breaks a skate blade, like when it just comes clean off. That's my favorite thing in hockey. And then they like try to get to the bench and they look like, you know, a baby deer who's just learning how to walk. That's my
Yes,
favorite
yes,
thing.
yes.
It
Yeah.
doesn't happen too often, unfortunately, for my sake, but talk about how that kind of goes, because it's pretty rare to see that happen. I mean, it maybe happens once, twice a season, right, for a team, and some teams will go a whole season without it happening. How do you handle that? Because that's not as easy as just handing somebody a stick. You got to attach a whole blade back to a skate.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so I'll give you two instances. Mike Rupp had it happen to him. I think it was on the road. You always want that to happen at home because you have the right tools and you know how to use your riveters and all that stuff. So it's good when it happens at home because you can get it fixed quick. Now, everybody has a backup pair of skates that we carry with us everywhere we go. So if that was to happen, nowadays it's different because we've had 2 or 3 times where the blades popped out, but we have the blades that you can take out. So all you do is you take his other blade, or you grab the blade and you pop it back in, it snaps in, and he's done. But Rupp had the actual steel break right above the connection screw where it happens. He came around and the back of his heel hit the boards and the steel just went flying. And so we had to give him a backup pair of skates while we replaced and the problem is with that though, is that if you break your steel, it stinks because you're going to have to use the steel out of your backup skates because they're profiled, right? And they're sharpened the right way. Or if you had to put a brand new steel in there, if you have one in the other one's lower than the higher one, so that'll screw him up. So you might as well change them both out, and then he's going to be skating like Bambi anyway because he's not used to the profile. I mean, the sharpening will be the same, but the blade changes over time as you sharpen it. Just human nature from where you push, and everybody's different. But like you have the one profile, but since we sharpen them, they change so slowly, guys adjust to them and don't notice it as much. And we have profilers that profile the skate for us and everything like that. But yeah, back in the day when a guy would break the plastic or anything, you'd have to put him in his backup skates. Or in the case of if you didn't have backup skates for him, like in a training camp game, or not training camp, but preseason. Thank you.
You're
Preseason
welcome.
game.
Just
Guy
a writer.
breaks a. Yeah, you're figuring it out. If a guy breaks it during a preseason game, you're kind of screwed. Like he doesn't have a backup pair of skates, so he's just pretty much out of the game until you get the new plastic on. And a lot of times, and that's the biggest worry you have playing at those like Hockeyville games, or like they play off-site, like up at when Grand Forks,
where the ice isn't perfect,
and the ice isn't good, but you don't know the tools there, and you may not have the tools there, so you bring as much as you can, but the tools you have probably aren't working very good, or you know what I mean? So it's just going to take more time to do it. So you hopefully have a backup pair for everybody.
Well,
and the goalies is the worst part because then they got to take off everything. Even though Doobie, the way pads are nowadays, they're just like 3 Velcro straps. Like Doobie can take his pad off, he changed a lace. So goalie pads have a lace at the bottom that ties to the toe of the goalie skate, right? And that holds it and keeps it in place. So Doobie broke his mid-game during a TV timeout. We got him a lace, and he took his pad off on the bench, changed the lace out, retied it, and put his pad back on, all in like the minute in between during the TV timeout. And I was like, that kind of was a moment where you're like, whoa, that doesn't, like back in the day that wouldn't happen because you have all these buckles and you're like buckle out, and then you got to take it out underneath your skate. You got to take all the stuff off. Yeah, stuff like
That sounds
that
fun.
makes the game fun.
Super fun. This
So
would lead to
fun.
Fred's question that he's been dying to know, apparently, with that video that he just hasn't moved on from that never made it to fruition.
Well, I
3.5
found it
inches.
fascinating. I found it fascinating.
Yeah.
Around.
Around.
Do you want to ask it, Fred?
Sure, I can ask it. So
Yeah.
I found it really interesting when I was hanging around the locker room, talking to you, talking to Tony. Just the difference is between the players' skate sharpness. Can you walk us through like how that affects the play?
I don't think. Okay, so how it doesn't really affect the play so much. It affects the player more. Everybody is different. Everybody wants different profiles. Everybody wants different hollows. We call it the hollow is how sharp it is. The sharpest guy we have on our team are the two goalies. They're both like 5/16. They're like super sharp. But it's kind of funny because goalies have changed. Goalies used to be the shallowest, the dullest skates on the team. But now the way they play, they're pushing off their toes so much. You got to go super sharp for them to get the bite, to dig and push over, to slide over to the other post. Ryan Suter is a good example. He actually, to tie him in to the earlier guest,
Yeah.
he used to be a 1/2 inch sharpening, which is pretty sharp for a player. And this year he switched to 1.25 inches. So he went like, if you look at it, like he went almost a full inch shallower than what he did before. And the benefit of going duller is your groins don't hurt as much. It's a lot easier to skate. You don't have super tight turns like you would with a sharper skate, but it takes less energy for you to get to point A to point B, and your glide is 10 times better. So a lot of guys go duller because of that reason, especially if they have a sore groin. They'll change their sharpening to something a little duller. Suter doesn't really turn a lot, so he doesn't really need, you know what I mean? He doesn't need that super bite. He just needs something that'll get him from point A to point B quicker. So that's one way you can do it. I mean, honestly, there's no 40 time on that, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's less work to get from point A to point B when you have a duller skate.
Didn't Zucker have one of the dullest skates on the team?
He did. Suter and Fiala are both tied for the dullest. They're both 1.25 inches. Zucker was the next one down at 1 1/8. And then we had, when Granny was here, he was 1 inch. And then who else do we have at 1 inch? Man, it's been a month since I've been at work. Man.
Isn't that crazy?
I don't remember.
Do you even remember the names of the guys on the team at this point? Because I'm starting to lose it a little bit, honestly.
We have Ovechkin, don't we?
Yeah,
I think
remember.
so. It's last
I
heard.
hope when we come back, he's on our team. That'd be kind of cool.
Don't that be sick? You're like, who is this?
This guy? He's pretty good. Pretty
Yeah,
good.
this guy's not bad. This guy shoots a lot, man. He smells like cigarettes, though. Anyway, he just looks like he just smoked a pack a day, and he goes out and scores 58.
Totally.
Oh.
What's the stinkiest locker room? Like maybe a season, whether it's the Wild or.
You said that like Tricky just puts his face in jock straps, and you just want to know, like.
I've been around
She's
some of these
seen
guys.
me do that.
Yeah, I have.
She's seen me do that.
Mhm.
No,
They'll throw their jersey, and he'll be like.
Whose nut butter's the worst?
Once again,
Yeah.
who's nut?
We're
Did
like
you say
the
nut
stinkiest.
butter?
Yeah, whose nut butter's the worst?
Nut butter? It's just. Oh, God,
Told
I'm
you,
gonna
there's
throw
nothing.
up.
Nothing's off limits here.
Well, okay, that's a good thing. So as far as stinkiest locker room, there's not really a stinky locker room. I know the old Joe in Detroit had a nice smell of beer and tea.
Sounds about right.
Sorry.
also
I'm
smelled
sorry.
like
This is the
Victory,
Bardown Beauties
right?
piss. Let's say piss. Smells like Victory. Yeah, exactly. As far as smelly guys, anybody that doesn't wear socks in their skates, it's disgusting.
Is that a
Smells
thing?
like
I don't know how
bad
people do that,
Fritos.
by the way.
Some
Yeah.
guys, some
Chris
people
Stewart
don't
did, right?
wear socks.
Who,
Yeah,
Chris
Chris
Stewart?
Stewart skates. Chris Stewart skates smelled like Fritos.
Chris Stewart seems like the kind of guy who would have not worn socks, so I mean, I'll give that to
Just-
him.
Yeah, he never did. He wouldn't wear socks with his dress clothes. He'd have like these moccasins on the plane with no socks. And I'm like,
Okay.
have you smelled your feet? Oh, yeah, I'm smelling. Like, okay. So, what was I gonna? Yeah, socks. Guys that don't wear socks and skates make it smell bad. Definitely. I'm not calling any of our guys out, but there are guys that smell like onions, like an onion field or a garlic field or whatever kind of.
Their sweat stank. Yeah.
Yeah, their sweat just stinks. It's what they are. It's who they are. So,
Yeah.
but that's where that whole standing sport thing that ties into that too. It kind of helps out with that a little bit. But It doesn't do so much. They say it kills stank. It don't kill stank. Sorry, that shit don't kill stank. It's definitely more of just who they are and what they do. I'm sorry, I didn't really give too much of a good answer there.
I thought
Well,
that was
You
very
want
clear.
the juicy stuff. You want the juicy
No,
stuff.
I didn't need you to call.
Wrong
I hate when people like
word.
call
Wrong
out
word.
guys. I always feel
Yeah.
bad then. Like, oh no, I have to talk to you after I called you a stinky person. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Wouldn't do that.
Well,
Because I have some
don't
in
get
my
me
head
wrong.
that they're stinky
Yeah.
guys. Like I
Yeah,
won't
you
go in their
know.
locker. I'm like,
Dude, you've been
not doing-
you know who smells. You've
Yeah.
smelled it. There's smells like baby vomit.
there's
That's
I
been on a
can't like
diaper for
breathe.
6
Like I will
weeks.
not breathe around
Yeah.
them because I'm like,
It's bad.
thank you
It's
for
bad. That's-
the answer.
Yep. Nut
Still
butter.
love you. Still good people.
Mhm. Yeah, still good peeps.
What
That's
what
the peeps.
recommendations would you have for then like parents? I think we do maybe have some hockey parents that tune into the fun
Yeah.
of Bardown Beauties. Like how do they get their kids' equipment to be less stanky?
The best way to get equipment less smelly is buy new stuff. That honest to God, like just buy them new gloves.
Just open those wallets.
Just open the wallet and buy them some new gloves. I know you got a stimulus check coming. Go get them some gloves, baby. No, they you can wash everything you have except for the helmet. You can't wash the helmet. You can't wash the skates out for obvious reasons. But all the other equipment can be taken to like a laundromat, and you can throw it in and just do it on a hot water cycle with some water. You don't really want to bleach. Like you can usually use bleach on pants, shin pads, shoulder pads, elbow pads, gloves. It might change the color of them, so I probably wouldn't wash the gloves with that. But you can just do hot water soap and just run it for an hour-long cycle. If you have smaller kids, you can do it in your household washer, maybe a steam sanitize type option. All that stuff, you just don't throw it in the dryer because that's when the stuff gets beat up. So once you wash it, hang dry it, put a fan on it, let it sit for 4 or 5 days, and you're going to smell fresh. And spray and wash. Spray and wash or Resolve, I think you spray it down first and then throw it. And that's what we do with our stuff because at the end of the year, we usually wash the gear. Or we try to wash the gear. We'll use spray and wash first, spray it down, throw it in the washer, wash it through like we call it the equipment cycle where we have them programmed to run and dispense bleach at a certain rate so you're not like – a lot of guys wash their gloves all the time because they start getting stinky. They'll throw them in with the jerseys, and we'll just wash them with the jerseys. And then it softens stuff up too. It makes it actually feel. It's a good way to break in equipment. If you buy new equipment, throw it in the washer first, and it's a good way to beat it up to make it feel good when the guys put it on.
So have you started that year-end process now with like the uncertainty of everything? Like, did you guys do some of that
yet.
stuff?
No. We've sanitized all the gear before the guys. There's a couple guys I think that came in, grabbed their gear and took it home with them, but all the gear has been through the Sandy Sport once, and I know everything in that. Nobody's been in our room since March 11th was the day. Was that the day? Yeah, because once we were gone that day, we were told
12th,
we can't
maybe?
come back. Yeah, whatever that Vegas game was.
Yeah.
And that whole day was the weirdest day I've ever had. I mean,
I felt like I was drunk the whole day. Like I was just in such a weird haze.
And not in a
like
fun way.
No, like not in a enjoyable way. Like a depressed drunk.
Yes, I was sitting there going, no, I need, like I'm asking for money for my next whiskey or something. But they that day was weird because I came in the morning and basketball just canceled their stuff the night before. Or not canceled, but suspended their stuff the night before. And I remember I was fixing the jerseys for the game that night, and there's players walking in past me, and they're like, there's no way we're playing. And they're even saying that. They're like, we're not, I mean, NBA's doing that, and there's no way we're playing tonight. And it wasn't until about 9:15, I think, we got the call that came down from Billy that said, yeah, everybody out, everybody pack your stuff up and go. And then I went down there, and Vegas was sitting in limbo because they said at that time there was still a chance we could play that night. So Vegas hung out and waited, and they couldn't. I think their plane wasn't there until 5 or 6 o'clock that afternoon, so they couldn't leave anyway. So their equipment guys and trainers were all there, and they were playing like left, right, center in the locker room with bubblegum as what they were betting with. And I remember going down talking to them for a good hour and a half, and we're like, yeah, we're not playing, but they still wouldn't make the actual call saying we're not. And then finally they did about. Whenever that 11, I think it was 11 o'clock.
Yeah, it was like right around lunchtime, I think.
Yeah. I can't remember.
And then I left. We all left as far as staff. We left at like 1:30 and went home. And we went back yesterday. We did some inventory because these companies are wanting their stuff in, right? They want us to get our orders in for gloves, pants, helmets, shin pads, elbow, any kind of hard gear that needs to be in by April 15th. And generally, right now, we'd be doing inventory if we were done, or we would have an idea because we're there. So we went into Tria yesterday and did a quick 2-3 hour inventory of what we have. And then so Tony can place the order with CCM, Bauer, and Warrior and all those companies. So that they can start making them over in China and bring more.
I hear you're quite the prankster with the
Who
squad.
told you that? Who told you?
Numerous. I have numerous sources. I cannot reveal my sources. They are anonymous.
No, wrong.
But
They're all wrong.
not. What's the best prank you pulled? Or what's the best prank you've helped a player help pull?
Jeez.
Sticky notes on the car.
Dude, I didn't do anything with that. That was dumbbelled. 100%.
That was a good one.
That was a good one. I've seen pranks pulled, like the styrofoam peanuts in a car. Usually it centers around cars and somebody screwing around with their car. What was it? As far as a lot of the pranks that happen are ones that I just can't tell. I'm not comfortable telling because, and it's not about, I just don't want people to know that happened because there could be some people getting in trouble. You know what I mean?
Like this has legal implications now. Is that what you're saying?
Possibly. I'm just saying. Like I'm not. It's not like anybody's going to go to the death penalty chair or anything like that for it. But it's like, whoa, why would you do that? That is so not right. And I'm like, yeah, no, not in this day and age. I can't. No. I'm like, okay, well, how about this? No, can't say that one. Hold on. Yeah, maybe not.
Who's the biggest prankster on the team then? Like who also loves to pull jokes as much as you?
Usually like Rupper, when Rupper was here, he comes to mind as being a guy that likes to come in and have little funny things going on, and Halloween costumes. People have fun and having fun with that. You know that this past Halloween, there's a couple guys, there's an equipment guy in Colorado that got let go because of his insensitive comment on, or not comment, but costume that he had. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's costumes there's ones that they come out, like I remember when, what was the one costume I loved? It was, what was his name? The baseball player, Eastbound and Down. What's his name?
Kenny Powers.
Kenny Powers, thank you. Yeah, there's a bunch of Kenny Powerses that were great.
You're out.
Man and all that stuff, yeah. So as far as pranksters go, I'm not going there, not touching it. I'm not going to be the dummy that does that. No, Richard. No.
Thanks again to our guests, Erin and Tricky Ricky. That was a lot of fun. So much fun, actually. Like my cheeks hurt. I feel like I've said this for like every one of our guests, especially lately. Like Zoom just brings out like the fun in everybody, right?
Well, we've been really lucky. We've had so many awesome, hilarious, smart people on our podcast. And so I know not everyone is as lucky as we are to have so many awesome guests, but I feel like every week I'm so excited to interview the people and to put that out there and have other people listen to it because we know a lot of cool people, Jesse.
Sometimes I do have to step back, not to be like, look at us guys, we know, but we know some really cool people. Yeah. Like we've been really lucky. We're, not very far into this, and to be able to snag some of the guests, like every time I kind of run down a list with a lot of my friends who are even very nonchalant sports people, they're like, wait, they were on your podcast? I was like, yeah, thanks for listening. Yeah, dick. Like, whatever.
Even like Jamie Hirsch, our first episode, one of my friends texted me. He's like, love the podcast. By the way, how the hell did you get Jamie Hirsch? And I was like,
I'm going to put this out there. You guys, I put feelers out to see if we can get Wayne Gretzky on the podcast. And I 100% hope that happens because that would be amazing.
Jinxed it. You just put it out in the universe.
Nope.
Knock on wood. I got it. Don't worry.
It's not. It's happening. Because why would he say no? I mean, why? Like, why not? Just come hang out.
No one has any
private jets
right
all
now.
across the country and has way bigger fish to fry.
I guarantee he has Wi-Fi on his private jet.
Yeah, he listens to Bardown Beauties on his private jet. It's fine. It's not a big deal. Anyway, we've kept you guys a very long time. So without further ado, here's Dear Diary with Alexis.
10 reasons why you should hate the Flames. Number 6, I can't be for certain, but they probably trash talk us behind our back and sometimes to our face.
And that's Dear Diary with Alexis. Young Alexis hated the Flames.
No. Northwest Division. Who remembers the Northwest Division? I might be young, but I am not young enough to not remember the Northwest Division. These diaries are filled with hate spewed towards the Oilers, the Flames, the Canucks. Like I was an angry kid.
Amazing. Well, again, thanks to everybody for tuning in. We really appreciate you. If you love this podcast, be sure to give us a rating. Make sure you subscribe so you do not miss out on an episode released every Monday. We are still here, loud and proud, and giving you the content that you want to gobble on up. Again, thanks to our presenting sponsor, sodastick.com. Be sure to go check them out. Thanks to Fred for putting this lengthy episode together. God
Fred.
speed, sir.
Maybe
Thanks. Yeah. And thanks to me and Alexis for just hanging out, right?
Having a good time.
Having a good time. Be
Getting
sure to tune
crazier
in.
by the week.
You'll really want to tune in next week, I'm sure. No, be sure to tune in next week. Stay safe, stay healthy, and staying out there, Buttes. We'll talk to you later.